You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K25. Jeez, I've said that hundreds of times. I almost forgot what I was saying for a second
Oh,
there.
I know
6
you
a.m.
are. Yeah, it's catching up to you, Mo. It's
You,
catching up. It's
do,
finally
you,
done caught up to you.
do you know what the worst part is? I don't even feel tired anymore. I don't even feel
You,
tired. It because
I'm tired, Mo. I'm
but
tired for the both of us.
I
So I
felt
feel tired.
tired. I felt tired all season long. But then this week, my body has just accepted that tiredness is now just a 24/7 feeling and it's the new
Oh,
normal. So now my tired is just baseline. So when this season ends, and as our friend Scott Perry likes to say, if you don't see me, don't look for me. When I go off to a beach
mm,
somewhere and I actually can turn off my phone and my computer and I can actually relax for the first time in 15 years, because I never take
mm.
holidays, BJ. You know me, I never take holidays. I will take my first ever holiday this summer and I will hopefully experience what it's like to not be tired. But I almost fell asleep tonight due to the absolute snooze fest that was game 4 between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. BJ, I'm going to tell you a secret, and I'm going to share this secret with all of our listeners here. I never miss a playoff game. No matter what I'm doing. On the weekend, I was in a restaurant watching the game on my phone because the game started earlier than I thought. I never miss a minute of playoff basketball. After the first quarter of this Cleveland Miami game, I didn't watch the rest of the game. This was for the Heat culture with the most hardworking, hard nosed, grittiest, meanest. Nah, where was it? Is it just a slogan? Tyler Hero, for all the noise you make in the media, you come out here, shoot 1 for 10. I know your suitcase was already packed for Cancun. I ain't even going to give you the respect of watching that game. A 138-83 loss at home to get swept. Embarrassing. I don't want to hear about the Miami Heat till next year. Did you have any thoughts on them?
I want to applaud the focus of the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they were able to achieve, not only during the regular season, because they won a substantial amount of games this year. And they were clearly, I thought, the best team in the Eastern Conference
Yeah,
in the regular season.
I think they still are.
I really saw some growth in this team here over this series, especially when they got on the road. So the way that they performed in game 3, but the most difficult part of any series is the closeout game. And this team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they came out with a tremendous amount of focus and they took care of business. I have to applaud them. Very impressive.
Do you want a
So
fun fact, BJ?
yeah, I'll let you do the fun, but I just want to say this: Cleveland, what they did, that was a very mature game. It was let's get up big on them and see if Miami really wants to play that hard. You know, when you're in a playoff game, you know one of the things that you want to do is you want to get the team down early to see if they really want to work that hard to come back in it and then have to pack their bags and go back to Cleveland. So Coach Atkinson and his staff, they were ready to play. And as you know, Mo, it's tough in Miami. Sometimes the city of Miami wins. Not that it would happen to you, Mo, but sometime if you don't have the discipline and the focus, the city of Miami. So Cleveland, I applaud them. I watched the game just because I wanted to see the reaction. They were down there for 3, 4, 5 days, and they were tremendously, and I'm saying tremendously focused, and they came out ready. Okay. So this looks like a team now that I can say, okay, they're ready to compete. And I think they came out, they did what they had to do, took care of business, and moved on. So I learned something from this. I know it wasn't entertaining as the other game, especially the game that we're going to talk about next year. But I thought it was great for the Cleveland Cavaliers, their fan base, and they look like they're ready to make some noise here in the playoffs.
My fun fact: the Cleveland Cavaliers could have stopped scoring at the start of the third quarter and still won that game. If they did not score another bucket for the entire second half, they could have still won that game. It was the most lopsided series in NBA playoff history. Cleveland won the series by 122 points across 4 games. The most lopsided series ever. So much for the 10th seed making the play in. The Miami Heat did not do Heat culture justice in this one.
That was tough. Listen, I don't care who you are to be on the road for that for that amount of time. That was an extended amount of time.
Yeah,
I don't know how you I don't
if
know how
you
you're going to
are
overcome
the
that.
hardest working, best conditioned, most professional, unselfish, toughest, meanest, nastiest team in the NBA, there can be no excuses.
There are no excuses. However, that's a very difficult ask. I don't care who you are. You can be all those things. And there are some games in the professional schedule that you look at and you say, you know what, that's going to be hard to overcome. I don't care who you are. And they put up a good fight there in Cleveland, I thought. So they showed me the character. However, at some point here, you just get overmatched, and sometimes the schedule catches up to you. And anyone who plays, they'll let you know. It's like playing 4 games in 5 nights. Is it possible to win that fourth game? Yes. However, you understand what the limitations are. That's part of being a pro. That's a hard travel for them to do, but that's no excuse. I thought this team, Miami, they did the best they could. However, they were completely overmatched with Cleveland. It showed they handled their business, and we'll see what the Miami Heat are going to do. They're going to have a interesting offseason, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm being a little bit harsh on the Heat, mainly because I heard an interview with Tyler Herro that I thought was just insanely embarrassing, where he was talking about, oh, if we had Jimmy, we would have won. And this and that. I don't know if he really said it or if it was one of those fake accounts, whatever. But speaking of Mr. Jimmy Butler, his Golden State Warriors took a 3-1 series lead in another classic game against the Houston Rockets, 109 to 106. The Warriors take the win at home before they go to Houston to try and close this out. And the way this game started, BJ, the Warriors came out with some intensity. Draymond Green hits back-to-back threes. And you know my saying is, if Draymond Green's hitting those 3-pointers, you're going to lose that game. The Rockets had 4 turnovers in the first 4 minutes, and I thought this was going to be another blowout. However, the Houston defense kept them in the game, got them back in the game. They were getting out there in transition. The final 7 minutes of the first half, it was a 21-14 Houston run, including 7 Warriors turnovers, 3 of them by Steph Curry. They took a 7-point lead into the half. The Warriors jumped out pretty hot to start the second half. Draymond Green picked up his 5th foul early in the third quarter. And we'll talk about the rest of it. But the physicality in this game, the little skirmishes between the players, something interesting happened tonight that I don't remember seeing. And it's Draymond Green got 1 technical foul for him and Steph Curry's altercation with Dylan Brooks, if you want to call it an altercation. He then had a little something with Tari Eason, but the refs didn't give him a technical foul for it. They gave him a flagrant 1. And, if you have 1 technical and you get a second technical, you get ejected. But if you have 1 technical and you get a flagrant 1, you I don't recall seeing that before. Have you seen that happen before?
Yeah, I'm sure I have. Yeah.
It was interesting. It was
Yeah,
interesting.
I want Draymond in the game. It provides for better entertainment. So
Absolutely.
I thought
Absolutely.
I thought it was a very well played game. The intensity was high. It was going back and forth. You know, one of my favorite players is Fred VanVleet. I love his
Steady
pace,
Freddy.
the way he plays, and he showed up big.
He was shooting
And
6 for 29 in games 1 through 3. Tonight, 8 of 12 from behind the arc, 25 points. We talked about where would the other contributions come from. Jalen Green, once again, did not show up, just 8 points for him. But Eamon Thompson gave him 17. Fred VanVleet gave him 25. And that man, Şengün, 31 and 10 in this one.
yeah, I was a little disappointed in Sengun. I was a little disappointed, right?
Really?
Yeah, I was disappointed, especially because Draymond was in foul trouble. And he had what did he end up with? 31 points, but he had 28 shots. That's a lot of shots for a big, and to only get 31 points. Okay. Um, Draymond was out for a significant amount of time, and his shot selection, all those shots that you make during the course of the regular season, those flip shots and all that. No, you got to make those. And I thought there were a lot of missed opportunities, layups, things that you gotta you have to convert those. You have to play through the level of contact that the game. I thought Jimmy Butler gave an excellent example of that tonight, playing through the contact. I don't think Jimmy got up 15 shots, right? I don't know what he ended up
He had
shooting.
12 shots on his way to 27 points.
Yeah, that's the level
Efficiency.
of effect. Yes, you have to
12
be.
of 12 from the free throw line, whereas the Houston Rockets continue in this series to leave points on the board. 19 of 31 from the free throw line as a team, once again shooting abysmally from the charity stripe.
Yeah, you have to be able to be very efficient. Now, remember now, this Houston Rockets team is on the road, and this was a must game. So you got to bring out the very best. You can't be a volume player at this juncture. This was a must game. But in
What I,
saying
what I
that,
will say in defense of my good friend Mr. Alfred Şengün is number one, he's receiving a lot of heat from NBA fans. He's only 22 years old, led his team to the second seed and is in a series against one of the better lower seeded teams we've seen in the NBA in the NBA playoffs. And the half court offense of the Houston Rockets, there's really not much going on. And I don't know whether it's to do with the design or the personnel, but there isn't too many options. He's not in a system where there's multiple options. He knows if he gets the ball, he's got to try and get a shot up, and the Warriors are going to pack the paint. They went to the zone a lot. Steven Adams, who by the way had 4 blocks in this one, was great. He did a great job of doing something. You'll notice this when the Warriors went to a zone, he would set a screen on the low man in the zone to kind of free up the lane, like a Gortat kind of screen for Şengün to spin to the hoop. But it is tough. The Houston half-court offense, we've discussed this a number of times. The Houston half-court offense is very tough to generate good looks when the game slows down.
just like I'm not going to make excuses for the other side, I'm not going to make excuses for the Rockets. This is a must game.
Absolutely.
They've had 82 plus games to figure this out. Okay. Sengun was an all-star, so that therefore we must evaluate him to his level of excellence. Okay. When you're playing in a must game like this, for instance, you have to stay out of foul trouble. He got a very quick foul early in the game. He had to come out there early because of, he had a couple fouls, I believe, in the first quarter. There are little things like this where we need him to be available and to be able to play the game on that level because of the importance of this game. Okay, he's clearly the best player on their team right now. So there's a responsibility that you have to carry this through. Now, in saying all of those things, it's a learning process for this team because this is their very first time. Their effort, their energy is great. It's terrific. They're engaged. They're trying. However, there's a level of experience that you have to play with. That's just the nature of the beast. They're getting a lesson right now in the difference between the regular season and the postseason with a very experienced championship caliber team. Okay. Now, so I'm asking them to learn on the fly versus a level of excellence, right? And that may not be fair. However, it is fair because they're the second seed. It doesn't matter what it what we what we can make excuses for everyone can make excuses. However, you got to find a way. So the Houston Rockets, hopefully they'll get a little home cooking and they should have the confidence to go back and say, we can win a game on the road. They should. Okay, they should. I said in game 3, I thought they missed an enormous opportunity with Jimmy Butler being out. If there was a game to get, that was the game. Okay, that was the game to get. However, they didn't get it. And then the Warriors took advantage of the situation. They basically somehow escaped with a win there in game 3. Jimmy comes back and plays like Jimmy Butler. He's very efficient, doesn't take a lot of shots, does all of the little things. He plays with a level of physicality. For the most part, I thought he met all of the antics and things that were going on the court.
He's
He
talking a
was
little trash.
he was terrific. Steph Curry was fairly quiet tonight. I think he only had like what? I think he didn't have over 20 points.
Yeah, quiet by his standard. He had 17 points, 2 of 8 from
Yeah.
downtown. The Houston Rockets were
Okay.
really, really
So
trying to lock him up.
so this was a winnable game for the Rockets. Give them credit. Now
Oh,
they
it
fought
went down
back.
to the
They
final
got
possession.
yeah, they got down
Do
early,
you know who was
big.
really impressive? This kid, Brandon Pajemski, 26 points. He was bringing it on the defensive end too, drawing some offensive fouls. He even blocked Fred VanVleet going up for a layup as well. I was impressed by what he brought. He was 6 of 11 from downtown. And he's kind of peaked at the right time for this Warriors team, kind of since March, the hot shooting streak that he's been on. And it's those
Well,
contributions you get when
they
Steph Curry's under 20
well,
points.
you're gonna need a third scorer. Okay. You're
Hmm.
gonna need a third scorer. And I was watching the game here, and you can't guard everybody. Buddy Hield is in the lineup for a reason. He keeps the floor spaced. So you got to stay home with him. Steph Curry, you got to guard him with two people. Draymond Green, okay, he makes the first two. I don't know if he scored a basket after those first two threes, right? I don't,
No.
I don't think he,
No, he didn't.
okay. So Brandon stepped up to the plate, but that was by design. But give him credit. He had a great game. He was terrific. However, we knew Jimmy. Steph Curry is capable. And we know that. So they need to find a third scorer. And the kid Post, I think, had double figures. I thought he
Yep.
played well in his minutes.
Yep.
So they know they have to find a third scorer, whoever that may be. Buddy Hill, Brandon Post, somebody's going to have to contribute to this team. And tonight it was Brandon's night. The other night it was Buddy Hill's night. Okay, in the absence of Jimmy Butler. So give those guys credit. Clearly, Coach Kerr has a game plan. They stuck to it. They kind of know what they want to do, how they want to play, how they want to execute. And if they get that third score, whoever that may be, they feel that they can win this game. And here was another indicator that that's kind of what they're doing. And Brandon stepped into that role tonight beautifully. Did it on both ends of the court. He did it on a timely fashion. I wouldn't say Brandon held Van Fleet. Van Fleet was phenomenal, but he made timely stops,
Hmm.
which that's what you're looking to do when you're playing against really good players. Fred Van Fleet is a world champion for a reason, and he showed you that he is very cool under pressure and played big tonight.
And credit to the Warriors and their coaching staff for managing the game and sticking around when Draymond Green he picked up his fifth foul early in the third, like I said, and yet they managed to they managed his minutes in a way that kept them within touch of difference. At some points, they were even in the lead without their best defender on the floor, especially with Houston going big with the Şengün and Adams lineup. They managed to get contributions from post. Even Kevon Looney came in for a little stretch. Moses Moody gave them solid minutes off the bench, even though it doesn't really show up in the stat sheet. It was a good win for the Warriors. It went down to the final possession. Real tough now for Houston. Down 3-1, headed back home. But BJ, let's take a look at tonight's games. There's 4 games on tonight or tomorrow night for you.
Mm-hmm.
The Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. Real tough now with confirmation of Damian Lillard's Achilles injury. Thoughts and prayers
Mm-hmm.
go to him. Hopefully he can bounce back
Yeah,
as
get
soon as he
get get
can.
well soon. Get well soon, and very unfortunate. And he's been through a lot. So I just my thoughts are with him and his family. And I'd never like to see anyone get injured. And but that was very unfortunate for him. Especially, I know how much he wanted to come back and contribute, especially in the playoffs. But get well and get back out there on the court.
Absolutely. I'm fully expecting the Pacers to take care of this one at home and advance on to the next round in 5 games. But your Pistons head into Madison Square Garden. Have you got your plane ticket booked? Oh, you put them up
I've
already, huh?
I'm only going to the closeout game for the Pistons.
Well,
So
this is the closeout game for the Knicks. This is
yeah, well, I expect to be in New York City for Game 7. So um, this is a great series. I love it.
I
The
want it to go
shot the
7 games. I
the
need it
sh
to go
the
7 games.
the shot making is just unbelievable for Brunson and Cat. I mean, that was just that was a classic game. Um, unfortunately, the Pistons had to lose, but you loved it. It was great, and I expect our guys to come back and show up. I know they're going to show up and kind of go from there.
Have you got a prediction for this one? You're picking the Pistons.
I got to go with my guys. I told you, I thought the Knicks would win the series. However, but I'm picking my guys. I'm staying with my guys because well, I mean, that's what I do. I got Detroit something on every day, as you know, Mo. So
Absolutely.
I got my Detroit.
What's
You
that?
see my
What's
D
that?
right there.
Lions?
That's the Detroit Tigers. That's the
Baseball.
baseball team. Yeah.
Baseball. Oh, baseball
So
season there starting now, right?
yes, yes. So every day. So, but I expect the Knicks because of their experience. Their top guys showed up. I mean, they showed up in a big way. I mean, that was I mean, if you're going to lose a game, that's how you're supposed to lose a game. Those guys went
Yeah.
out and won that game, the Knicks. So, but our guys are going to show up. So we'll be there for Game 7, and we'll take our chances.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Can the Celtics close out heading back home up 3-1 against the Orlando Magic?
Well, they should close it out in 5. I don't think they want to play around too much more with the Orlando Magic. The Magic seem to feel real comfortable
Yeah, you got to get
playing
out,
against.
get them out of
Yeah,
tonight. You don't want to
yeah.
see 7 games of this.
This might be a bad matchup for
It
the
is.
for the C's. So get out of there, get that win, close these guys out in advance,
Don't play with your
and
food.
move on. Yeah, move on.
Don't play with your food.
Yeah, you stick around with the Magic. They're capable of winning a game or two, or you don't want to. You don't if you're the Celtics, you don't want this to go past 5.
The most intriguing game of the night, with the only series tied 2-2 now in tonight's schedule, the Clippers and the Nuggets back in Denver for game 5. How are you feeling about this? Because the
I'm
Nuggets
going with
have
the Clippers.
won,
I'm going
yeah,
with the
the
Clippers.
Nuggets have won 2 games in this series. One was the overtime win where Russ was hitting some clutch threes down the stretch, and then one was Aaron Gordon's miracle. I want to say putback, but not quite a putback. Kind of an alley-oop, but Jokic was definitely not passing. He was shooting. Whatever that was, dunk with 0.00001 left on the clock. I think the Clippers, I think the Clippers, if they take care of business, I think they can get it done.
I picked the Clippers, so I'm going to stick with that.
I think the Nuggets play big minutes as well, and it's less turnaround time in these games as these series progress.
Yeah,
Midday between each.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for the Clips. It's going to be tough, but I will say this. Um, I just feel, when you keep playing over 40 minutes and now the games will get to back to back to back, I think it favors the Clippers, right?
Yeah,
When you look at the stats of the last game, I think all 5 of their starters played over 40 minutes, right?
yeah, they barely went to their bench.
Yeah, and at some point that's going to wear you out. And I think the Clippers, I think they had maybe 1 or 2 guys or some played close to 40 minutes here, and I just think that gives them an advantage. So we'll see. Jokic is going to be Jokic, but they're going to need Kawhi to have a big game. They're going to need Kawhi to have one of those big games, right, where he's clearly the best player on the floor,
Mm.
like we've seen a game or two in this series so far. And I'm looking for James Harden to have a breakout game. I thought he has played well. He's played very solid, double double in the last game, but we need him to have one of those signature games. If him and Kawhi can get it going on the same night, I think it gives them a significant advantage. Because I don't know what else Denver can really go to. I mean, it's not like they can go to their bench and play a different style. They're just going to have to keep with those guys. So, let's see how this plays out. But I'm going to pick the Clippers in a
Yeah,
highly contested game. But I
Westbrook,
think it's going to be very competitive for sure.
Westbrook and Porter Jr. both questionable for this one. It's interesting. The injury report that I've got, it says Michael Porter Jr. is questionable with his foot, not his shoulder, which is what's troubling him. I don't know if that's an error there or if he's got something happening with that. But if they're down Michael Porter Jr. as well, that's just another one less healthy body for them to have out there. So let's see. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap it all up and Yeah, it keeps rolling, B. It keeps rolling. The NBA playoffs, you gotta love it.
4 games. So let's get after it. I'll see you tomorrow, partner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Subscribe to the show, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast from. And man, I'm excited for Wednesday as well. That Minnesota closeout game. How about that? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Until next time, get buckets.